All right, welcome in everyone. It is the semifinals, baby. And then there were four teams left in the college
Yeah.
football playoffs. We are here. We basically made it. It's been a cool, crazy, wild ride. So we're here to break down both of these matchups in somewhat granular detail, I hope and expect. Talk about both games from a betting perspective, just from a game script perspective, and hopefully give you guys some relative, real and actionable sort of takeaways for both these games, and just kind of see how see what we expect from a betting perspective, because we both of us, at least I know you and I, Seth, have some action on some futures for,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the same game. So we're gonna break down all of it, guys. You know the drill. Let's start the show.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today.
Yes, indeed. All right, the semifinals are here. What's up, everyone? What's up to the chats? Jonesy, what's up, man? Mr. Katz, how you doing? Yeah, let's talk about it, guys. Like I said, and then there were four. So we're here. We basically made it to the end of the finish line. Let's talk game breakdowns first, some future stuff, and then let's maybe hit a little bit of zoom out, rewind on the model, and kind of where things stand from that perspective as well. So,
Yeah.
but let's get to the nitty gritty of it first. Let's talk about the first semifinal matchup, shall we? How about Notre Dame and Penn State? This one opened at 1.5, looks like, and is now pretty much at 2.5 throughout the market here. And this one, I tease it, and this is the one, Seth, where you and I, Steve, do you have open positions on one or both of these teams as well?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Seth and I both have futures on Penn State and Notre Dame to win the national championship, and these were given. The Penn State one was given out, I think, what did we say last week, like September.
Yeah.
Something crazy. And then we identified Notre Dame as having some value later in the season, and you took those maybe a couple of weeks ago. Can't remember exactly when.
I have a Penn State plus 1,000 and a Notre Dame plus 900.
Okay.
And then you have a plus 2,000 for Penn State?
I got plus 2,000 for Penn State. So before we kind of get into the nitty gritties of what I should do, if anything, on that position, let's break down this matchup a little bit here. So, Seth, for me, this is one of those quintessential, again, strength on strength situations here, where Notre Dame, again, you have one of the best, if not the best, passing defense in the country, but Penn State is a borderline top 5 passing offense in and of itself here. So, this one, for what the market is doing so far, really, I doubt it's going to move through the 3. But this is effectively a coin flip game from what the market's telling us here. So, what is your assessment of this matchup going in?
Yeah, I mean, these are both two teams that are really good, and you've kind of outlined it, a little bit of strength on strength. Notre Dame, 57th best passing offense, second best rushing offense. Notre Dame, 9th best passing offense, 25th best rushing offense. But on defense is kind of, I think, the whole story of this game. Penn State, 17th against the pass, 9th against the rush. Notre Dame, number 1 passing defense, but 53 against the rush. And I have to say, watching the Penn State Boise State game, it was alt season, and alt season was full in effect here, but the reality was Penn State got very cute in that game. And my assessment here is Penn State willing to do what they need to do, which is run the ball. I don't want to see cuteness. I want to see, 65, 70% run here. And I'm not sure that Penn State's willing to do that based off of how they played Boise. Pretty much every run was a successful play. And all of a sudden they're dialing up bootlegs, they're dialing up all these exotic passes, and I'm concerned. And ultimately, when we look at the drive quality statistics, we call that Eckel rate here. Shout out Parker. We see that these teams are extremely close. Notre Dame 73rd in offensive Eckel rate, meaning they get a quality drive that gets to the 40 or better. Penn State 56. But when we look at points per Eckel, this is where these teams are much more similar. And Notre Dame actually takes the cake. 5.3 points per quality drive. That's 8th in the nation. Penn State, 4.8 points per drive. That's 34th. Yeah. And when we look at both of these defenses, 3.2 points per quality drive is what Notre Dame's giving up on defense. Penn State giving up 3.7, which is 4th and 11th, respectively. Can Penn State run the ball and finish these drives? If they can do that, I don't know if this is it's alt season, but it's an alt season. Like Penn State can win this game. And we're seeing more mature money agree with us here. As high as 2.5, all those are knocked out. One across the market today. All the 2.5s are bought out. So raw number, Penn State.
Give it to me.
3.5 minus 3.5 for Penn State.
All right. Music to my ears. Maybe not yours, but
yeah, well, I think we'll talk about the strategy there.
Yeah.
I'm in a bit of a different position because I have Notre Dame as well. So no matter what happens for me,
that's fair.
Somebody's going to one of those teams is going to the final, right? But it's that question: will Penn State run the ball? They damn near could have lost to Boise State for no real reason. They just were like, nah, we can run the ball effectively, so let's not. I could not figure it out. It was very, very frustrating.
Okay, Steve. Yeah, Phil. For all that being said, too, I'm wondering, like, take both quarterbacks, and insert them into that discussion. Or, I don't want to lose sight of this, but I think Riley Leonard and what he does for that Notre Dame offense, like, he's obviously very good running the ball in and of itself. But if the Penn State defense can basically force him to become, or to force Riley to beat them through the air, as opposed to on the ground, number one, sets them up for success. And then two, for Penn State's offense to have success, I think the kind of inverse is true. Like, Aller needs to figure out, or they need to get Aller to be successful running the ball as well. I think that Drew Aller's been like a top 10 quarterback basically all year in terms of efficiency. Like, he's getting, like, I've been generally impressed with him from start to finish, but like, he's their number 3 rusher in terms of carries, but he leads the team in EPA per rush and rushing rushing success rate. So there is a pathway or a game script here that I think if Franklin and them can scheme up enough of these dialed and sprinkled in against this number 1 pass defense, yeah, maybe I hope Seth is right that Penn State can win this game. But what do you think?
Yeah, I got to be honest, guys. I don't have a lot of faith in Penn State in this game whatsoever. And again, I'm want to be humble here because obviously, like Seth pointed out, we'll see what the markets are doing, and we'll see what the market continues to do up until kickoff. But I'm not calling this recency bias, but we obviously saw what Notre Dame did to Georgia. And Nick Singleton is not Trevor Etienne. And I get it. You have Gunnar Stockton coming in for Carson Beck, and you can say, okay, well, Georgia's going to have more of a run-heavy focus. Maybe Notre Dame can stack the box, and maybe that kind of takes away from that game plan that you're not really worried about Stockton beating you through the air. But he had a pretty decent day, all things considered. That Notre Dame defense is just absolutely stifling. And so for me, it's I don't know if running the ball is going to be enough in of itself for Penn State to actually win this game. And then from the flip side, from Notre Dame standpoint, like, yeah, we don't think of Riley Leonard as this sort of, gunslinger who's going to kind of dice these teams up through the air. He's more of a mobile quarterback who beats teams by running the ball as well. But you can convince me of a game script where you can have a defensive battle on both hands, and you just need Riley Leonard to have one good plays, maybe one explosive to Jaden Greathouse to be the difference in this game, kind of like a, 3-point, 7-point, whatever victory it may be. So to me, it's more so I have more confidence that Notre Dame can rely on their defense and put up enough on offense to eke out a win than Penn State winning this solely through the offensive side of the ball. I just don't have that kind of confidence seeing what Notre Dame has done pretty much every week except for that NIU game. So we'll see what happens here, but that's just my kind of 2 cents here. And again, I'm saying this without any futures, without any sort of, real action on this. So I can sip my ivory tower, but I'm curious to see what actually happens.
Yeah, Penn State, I mean, I would say somewhat ad nauseum, we always talk about, or someone is out there talking about Penn State and James Franklin's more specifically, his like how in tune or keen he is to the spread and wanting to cover the spread. He's basically 500 this year, but in somewhat an interesting nugget within that is, as an underdog, Penn State's 1-7 against the spread. So here they are coming into this game as a dog. What can what can Freeman and Co. do to really, I don't know, to just pump the brakes on this Penn State, because Seth, I kind of have a slightly different, I guess, opinion on Penn State's like run up to this point. I think it's been largely largely impressive. Like there were moments in that game against Boise where I was like, okay, yeah, I can see where, or something's weird. Like they didn't seem fully like themselves, but hey, I mean, this is like, I don't know, you can't always be pedal to the metal, always looking your best self, so to speak. So the only other thing I'll note is there is a potential injury issue on Notre Dame, right?
Big.
Their running back, Jeremiah Love, I think he was in a boot this week still. So, what does that do to their ability to generate that efficiency that they have been on the ground without him? Because going back to Riley Leonard again, one last point there is he's been really good for them when they've sprinkled in or kind of mixed in his design rushing attacks. But if he is your first or maybe even second option of running the ball, that might be an issue for the Notre Dame offense. Like use Riley Leonard rushing as a not an out or like a kind of third or fourth option, but like if he's your first or second, I don't know if that's enough, man. I don't know if that's going to do it.
Well, if they're using him as the first pass option, they're definitely fucked.
Oh, sure.
I don't think they trust him to do that. There's also injury on Penn State defensive side of the ball. Abdul Carter potentially out in this game.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Which was a huge aspect of the Boise State game. I don't know. I mean, we to Steve's point, we've seen the algorithm for how to slow Penn State down. We saw it against USC. We saw it against Minnesota, who is nowhere near as talented, especially at the defensive line, as what they're going to see in Notre Dame. I don't know. It's not a slam dunk. We take the market into account here. We, like you said, we make this number -1 when you regress to the now 1 in the market. It's slight edge, but yeah, I don't know. So I guess the real question is, Kevin, because you have Penn State, right? Do you have Notre Dame? Or just
I do not have any Notre Dame positions.
So you're kind of left either cash to make profit now or to move on to the next, hopefully move on to the next round.
Correct. Yeah.
At plus 2,000 though.
At plus 2,000, and I have like just under a unit on it. I don't have quite a full unit on it. So if that came to fruition and they ended up winning the Natty, then that would add about, let me see. I mean, that add about 11% to my bankroll.
What's the hedge add?
Well, that's what I haven't quite figured this out yet. So
actually, this is the perfect hedge situation. You get to buy a -1 favorite at money line, like meaning you're not having to overpay for the hedge. Best number looks like 118.
Right. So I guess here's the nuance of this, because it's not like
Profit X. Use code BTP.
Okay. Shout out. Yeah. Win more, lose less. But the nuance here, at least in my brain, and let me know if I'm thinking about this wrong, is that if Penn State actually does win this game, and I did hedge or put something down on Notre Dame, I'm still in the same position.
Yeah, you still have to hedge
a week from now. So I don't want to eat up all my potential ROI, on one hedge. This is different than the SMU situation where it was just the ACC championship.
Well, so it's basically like a little. It depends on how risky you want to be.
I would ask Steve, but I think I know his answer. Just let that shit ride, right?
Oh yeah,
double down. Yeah,
yeah, put more on it.
Hey, I mean, technically speaking, we make Penn State a little bit of value.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm leaning. I'm right now. I'm leaning on nothing. I'm not leaning on leaving it be, letting it ride. I don't. We talked about the SMU futures. Was fortunate enough to cash. On that one, or hedge out of that one in cash, and we've had a slightly profitable year as well with the model. So like, it's not like I necessarily need the cash per se.
But
so
I think it's more growth. It's more growth.
Yes, it is. It is more
crazy CLV. Like you got plus 2,000. The best number in the market right now is like plus 340.
For sure. Yeah. I just, man. I don't want to. Why don't I want to? Like I don't know. I have a wholly different feeling about this one in my head. So I'm
I
like
don't
nervous
think
for
you're
the
wrong
You
or not.
think I'm wrong?
No, I
for not
don't
doing
think
it?
you're wrong if you're not if
Okay.
you don't. I it's basically, do you want to lock up profit or do you want to let it ride? And
Yeah.
I think you're in enough profit that the
Yes.
growth might not be worth
Right.
the overall payout.
So okay, what are you're not probably gonna do anything then. Sounds like on yours.
So I looked into this. I mean, I want to make profit, so I'm
Yeah.
a little probably obsessed with it. But I'm in a different situation because no matter what happens in this game, to your point, I have someone going to be in the finals. The problem with this is, the Ohio State is just like, the market is just like buying and buying and buying, and so it looks like we're headed towards this situation where, whether it's Penn State or Notre Dame, you're gonna, assuming we're gonna
Either one
talk
of these
about it,
teams will be a dog against likely Ohio
and
State.
a big dog, like maybe 7-point, favorite. So I don't know. For now, we can revisit it, I think, when we get to the kind of the bracket, but
Right.
I don't know. I think you're right doing it either way. I think we have a couple. I think Mr. Katz, if he's in here,
He was saying that whatever book he used, they weren't offering a cash out, and that's been the same with my book that I have the features at, which it's somewhat irrelevant, but if you can hedge out, Cool. Give 4 shots deep. Give us a line for each possibility in the finals once you guys finish the breakdowns. I'd be interested to see. I don't know if is that something you can do in real time?
I get you a rough number. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But yes. So Steve, Seth, any lasting thoughts on this one before we move on? The only other thing I wanted to touch on to Notre Dame, or to the point about Notre Dame's defense and Drew Aller being, more or less a stud this year. He has a 0.0% turnover worthy play rate under pressure this year, and that is best in the nation. And Notre Dame has been really good at creating havoc plays and generating pressure on QBs, right? So what's going to give, I guess, so curious to see. Like there's been one too many things in my brain, Seth, where I'm just like, oh yeah, checkbox for Penn State, like, oh yeah, that's making me not want to move off the position here. So
I don't blame you. I think this is a coin flip game. I mean, our model, our numbers, like I said, the raw numbers make this 3.5. I'm not all that surprised because, to your point, I mean, there's definitely been more trial by fire for Penn State than Notre Dame. What, other than that loss to NIU or whatever, Northern Illinois, like, what adversity has Notre Dame run into? It was basically like, could they beat these teams bad enough? And they have definitely proved. Any of the haters saying like, who have they played? Like, we called that out over and over. Like, this is a highly talented roster. Don't get me wrong, but Penn State is also. So I don't know. This, I can see so many different game scripts. Especially the one, our weighted EPA. Some of the major up-weighted plays are both of these types of these teams' style of play, which is run the ball. One of the biggest up-weighted plays for weighted EPA is running the ball and having a successful run on second down neutral state games. So a weighted APA, Penn State 6th, Notre Dame 16th. I mean, these teams kind of bleed that just run the damn ball kind of vibe. This could be a 10-6 game, like, easily.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. We don't model out the total yet, but that was one other note I had. It was like, I might have some action on the under on this one for sure. Because to that point, like, both teams have a slower pace of play than average. And yeah, with the running back out potentially for Notre Dame and just their defense going up against this Penn State offense, yeah, I think I'll be taking some action there for sure. Steve, all right, good. Sorry, any last thoughts from you on this one before we move on?
No.
Okay,
let's move on.
All right, should be a fun one. I'm gonna be sweating it out, baby. I'll be sweating it out. So let's move on. Other semifinal matchup. Of course, we have Ohio State and Texas. So you kind of teased it a little bit, Seth, about Texas being the favorite here, and probably is already some look ahead lines as the favorite to win it all for sure.
The favorite.
Yes. So in this game, this one opened at 6. There's some juice 5.5s out there, but mostly 6s out there. Actually, yeah, some 5.5s now. Looking at the current market. So definitely, obviously, odds are favoring, the market's favoring Ohio State at the moment. But from the metrics that we track here, and you can kind of see on the screen in front of you here, these teams in some respects aren't really all that dissimilar, I should say. I mean, the one thing where you can see like the offensive weighted paper play for Ohio State kind of really stands out over Texas here. So Steve, like in your mind, is this one of these situations where Ohio State they've just been raw dogging everybody for God knows how long now, and there's no reason why we think it's going to stop?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to believe that. And I wish we had, we talk about the difference in offensive weighted EPA. When you break that down with run versus pass, I mean, this is where Ohio State gets very dangerous. It's not just that you have Travion Henderson and Quashawn Judkins who just run the ball down people's throat, which they've done. But Ohio State is really good at getting explosives. I mean, you heard all of sort of hype around Mecca, excuse me, Igbukah this year about him just kind of being this otherworldly wide receiver. But this one, and not to mention Smith on the other side, this is one of the ones where if I'm Texas, I'm very concerned, right? We talk about Texas coming in this game, whether it's Ewers, whoever at quarterback, they're supposed to have this high-powered offense. They can keep up with any team in the league, but we've seen time and time again where this team has just let these opponents come back in this game, most recently with Arizona State. And listen, we were on ASU plus 14, and that was great, but Texas damn near lost that game and really should have lost that game to ASU, and that's highly, highly concerning. And we talked about this, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. You look at Texas's resume, you have the game against Georgia, but this is one of the teams where, yes, they're in the SEC, but they've had a fairly easy go of it in that conference. And now you get to the real deal studs. I don't know how much longer Texas can really keep up. I think the spread's pretty indicative of that. So I think Ohio State continues to come out. They've been a team on fire since that Michigan loss. And quite frankly, I don't think Michigan beat Ohio State. I think Chip Kelly beat Ohio State, and that very questionable play calling, not utilizing Ohio State's explosiveness, would really cost them that game. I don't think they make that mistake again. I think Ohio State rolls.
Yeah, or is that the best game they could have lost, right? Which is just to wake them up. It's like the ultimate enemy. Yeah, I don't have a too dissimilar take here. I mean, these teams, don't get me wrong, Texas can put up points, maybe, right? And then that's the question here. I mean, this is not like a scrub team, but yeah, Texas is 23rd passing, 70th rushing offense. Obviously, OSU much more efficient, 4th best passing offense, 12th best rushing. The question I have here is both of these defenses are elite. When we look at our defensive echo rate numbers, so basically quality drives, Texas in our database is the number 1 echo rate over expected defense. OSU is number 3, and these teams are 1 and 2 respectively in points per echo. So they don't give up a lot of touchdowns with those quality drives. The raw model here number makes this number actually Texas plus 4.5. And I actually think that that's spot on, because I can see what this could come down to is one of these teams, probably OSU, getting a touchdown where Texas doesn't. They have to settle for field goals. And it does feel like, and we know kicking is very mental.
Yeah.
This is a self-manifesting thing. I've always said this. I've always had this take. Same about fumbles. What is the true difference between somebody that has a fumbling problem versus those that don't? It usually comes down to someone says they have a fumbling problem, and then it's hyper-focused. It's the same in the kicking game. And we've seen this now multiple weeks in a row. Texas could win games on the kick, and they don't. I think their kicker Auburn is his last name, which maybe that's a incognito SEC spy there. But I'm just concerned that in a game where possessions are going to be limited as far as quality possessions and getting points in the red zone, does that manifest itself? Because it's manifested itself in the SEC championship game, and it damn sure manifested itself in that ASU game. So I don't think the market's got this wrong. I don't think we're going past the 6. I think that's as high as the number's getting.
Yeah, I'd be surprised on that myself personally. And yeah, to your point, Seth, and one of the questions I wrote down here is, which team do you trust more inside the 40-yard line? Because to the point about the points per echo and all that, like both teams defensively are very good at not allowing touchdowns, when opposed teams get there. And both of these teams are extremely talented. You can see the team talent composites there at the end. But
Oh yeah.
but I mean, I hate to cite the eye test and vibe, so to speak, but like you have Henderson, you have Howard, you have Jeremiah Smith. Like talent is going to win out when the fields get shorter, right? You can scheme up all kinds of crazy fun stuff, between the 20s, with whatever kind of play call and playmaking stuff. But once the field shortens and dude just got to make plays, I think I just trust Ohio State's dudes to make plays over Texas's dudes.
A little bit more for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely want to caution though. I'm seeing so much of just like it's slam dunk Ohio State by a million. It's going to be no problem. This is classic why books exist, because it's your mental model sucks, to be honest. Sorry to call people out that are watching this, but it sucks. If you're thinking that, you're probably wrong here. Like, can Ohio State win by that? Yes, they can blow them out. Is it very probable? In my mind, no, it's not. You're just having this recency bias that they whoop the shit out of a team that they already played, that they're very familiar with. They, could scout in a different way. And so I would just caution that, I would not think this is alt season personally for me, and the model agrees with that. So I just want to caution. Texas has a chance to win this game. Is it probable? No. Is it likely? Probably not.
Yeah. No, and one other thing I had here too is like, if Texas is going to pull it off, there has to be those things that happen, the high variance stuff, the stuff that's in between the margins, so to speak. So I had a couple of things jotted down, and it's just like none of it really points to Texas's favor. In other words, they probably need some fluke shit to happen. So field goal conversion rate, and you talked about it already, Seth, 73% for Ohio State versus 64 for Texas. And then a couple of other high level things: penalty yards per game. Ohio State best, Texas there, 37 versus 51 yards per game, as well as overall penalties per game. So for Texas, you have to have basically a mistake-free game. Your kicking game has to be on point. And then probably some other, you got to generate some short fields or somehow. It's very difficult for me to see.
They have the defense to do it. Like, this is a team that could generate, sacks, tip balls, interceptions. And if you get a pick six off that, all of a sudden, right, there's where all your mistakes can live, where you can still have the same amount of mistakes, but you have this, one pick six. So I don't disagree with you. How about this take though? Manning comes in and then they win it all. I don't know if this has any probability. Buy all the Manning props you can get by, because if you think that there's a 5% chance of that happening, those are going to be extremely mispriced. Can that even happen in your guys' mind? Is that even on the table?
Well, shit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Let me rephrase that. When I say 100%, not like that's 100%.
Yeah, 100% is possible.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. We've already seen them flirt this idea, and this is the game where all the marbles are on the line. You're in the semifinals. Like, you need a spark.
You have to survive.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how long ago was it that Saban did it in Bama with Tua and who was the other guy?
Hurts.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're not.
Yeah, come to the live after this, or in our NFL, where we're going to talk about Hurts and a lot of his potential issues. But yeah, maybe this is the beginning of that. But if that's a true angle, Jonesy, and you have player props in your state, buy. Whether it's very small amounts, but if you think that there's a 15-20% chance that this is going to potentially happen, there's no way those are priced correctly, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So between these two matchups here, so we know what the market thinks. What is your guys' opinion or take on who's winning both matchups and who ultimately we'll do a championship game preview episode, I believe. But I want to peek ahead a little bit here. So who wins these two matchups, and who might ultimately take it, you guys think?
I'll give it a crack. I think Ohio State wins against Texas, and I really could see this Notre Dame game going either way. I'll believe the model. I'll take Penn State, and then I think Ohio State ends up beating Penn
All
State.
Big Ten championship, huh?
Yeah, Penn and
Right.
Big Ten winner last year. Big Ten's on top, I guess. SEC
shit.
who?
All right. Yeah, Steve, what do you say?
I got Ohio State over Texas, Notre Dame over Penn State. Give me one game. I think Ohio State's the better team, but I have no Notre Dame winning it all. Should have gotten a
Ooh.
future.
Ooh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more aligned with you, Steve. I think Notre Dame pulls it out, probably, unfortunately. And again, I'm trying to convince myself I'm trying to throw Texas a bone here, but like I can't really find too many things to do so. So I think
number one in number one in Echo rate over expected, number 2 in points per Echo. And that's an SEC schedule. It's not the best SEC schedule, but it's not like they played scrubs every week.
No, that's fair, but like yes, Texas has a very, very good defense. We know this, but let's not discount what Ohio State's defense is capable of, especially against the pass, right? So I don't know. Like it's if their defense was worlds better than Ohio State's, then I'd give that a little more time of day. But I just think they're a little too similar.
Hey, one last thing real quick. OSU hypothetical. Shout out Street and Paula. OSU hypothetical line versus Notre Dame -7.5.
Yeah.
There you go.
Then you have to bet, unfortunately, Notre Dame.
Yeah, 100%.
The true number should be it's about 4.5 if it's OSU Penn State, and it's about 5 if it's Ohio State Notre Dame. So yeah, then plus 7.5 would be
that hook. You got to take it.
Yeah. It would be a steal. Actually, 9.5.
Oh, sheesh!
I got a bridge I could sell you.
That's wild. Yeah,
this number keeps getting higher. I we'll see what happens. We've seen this movie before. Like, oh yeah, they won by, I don't even know how much did they end up actually winning by Ohio State, but like they won by 20, so they'll just win by 20 every single week.
Yeah.
It's just like so easy. It's like
all right, yeah. Then maybe I think I'll be taking some opposite action here and trying to focus on the growth rather than the than the closing line value here on my Penn State. So I think I might be convinced
that you're gonna try to hedge out with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did all the math on this because I was trying to look at my positions because I was seeing it every day, and it's 100 times worse than what were we sitting here Tuesday than it was yesterday when I did all this. So because I was trying to make a little matrix because I have positions on Notre Dame and Penn State. So really, I just need positions on Texas.
You got to come up with a whole new formula for that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's not super difficult, but basically the best number was plus 110 in the market for Ohio State. Well, bye because those are now, I think, minus 140, minus 130 is the best number for Ohio State, which is extremely overpriced. We make the number with the simulations for the last 4 teams plus 151. So you are way overpaying. There's still value on Notre Dame and Penn State.
Yeah, I just hate that I have to lay minus odds to take Notre Dame money line,
But minus 118? That's the best number.
Yeah.
Minus 115 over Profit X.
Yeah, win more, lose less. There you go.
Or just wait live. Like, if you know, okay, I'm going to hedge, you can just find the best number at kickoff using Unabated's odd screen. Use code BTB. And you can say, okay, I'm going to go on that book and I'm going to be ready. If Penn State gets the kickoff first, then wait it out and see if they score.
Yeah. Waiting on game state stuff is
it's not even game
perilous.
State stuff. If Penn State gets the ball and scores, you're going to be able to get Notre Dame at plus money. If Notre Dame gets the ball first, you hit, submit on the bet. Like, it's not going to change immediately, once they get the ball right away.
Yeah.
Like
that's flirting. That's flirting a little too close with me, playing with the devil a little bit here. Like, in my opinion, like right now, like in that scenario, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. In your scenario there, I'm only going to get better odds than what I can get now if Penn State gets it first and scores. And I think a lot has to happen. A lot has to go right for that to actually materialize.
Well, not really. They have to get the ball. That's 50%. Then they have to get a field goal at minimum. What's the probability they get a field goal on their first drive? There's probably someone has a probably
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they did.
But again, it's not that you're betting on that. You're just seeing if that is a possibility. If it's not a possibility, you just hit submit on Notre Dame.
Okay. All right. I'll think about it, but come next week, I'll let you guys know for sure what the outcome was.
Okay.
I will.
I mean, so also you got to do the math. So you're gonna have to bet like half of the like whatever your hedge value would be. You have to bet like half of that because you're gonna have to hedge again potentially.
Right. Yeah. So if my sort of max ROI in this case is basically 50% of the ticket value with the hedge, right? Then I have to, like you said, do the math. Probably because I don't want to do math in real time.
If you want to do a little bit of gamble but a little less risk, I believe FanDuel has a Detroit versus everybody, Ohio State versus the field to win the national championship, and I believe it was -110
for the field.
So you could get Ohio State at -110, and then you're basically effectively saying it's not going to be.
I just don't want it to be Notre Dame Texas.
or Texas.
Okay, do both. Yeah,
but at that point, via our sims, you have the two highest probability teams to make it. Well, that's not true. We make the number +320 for Notre Dame and +359 for Penn State. And then we make Ohio State +151, which let me just get you the probabilities on that.
All good. Yeah. And just to kind of wrap up some of the thoughts here, because we've broken down both of the games here, but we don't have official model plays on either one of these positions. And who knows? I don't say it's 50-50, but it's probable that we might not have anything on the championship game either. But looking at where, taking a kind of a 30,000-foot view recap of the season so far from the model's perspective, we went 3-0 on the win totals futures. Correct. We had Utah under, Florida over, and Florida State under. Right.
Yep.
And then the model record year to date is 82, 72, and 1, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in real time, I believe that's good for like 53.5%, almost 54%.
It's above.
Yeah. Which talk about consistency, man. 2023-24 record was 83 and 71. So, I mean, that is.
I was surprised.
You were surprised?
I was surprised and then not surprised because I was like, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
we are using an updated model, so it's not exactly the same, but
sure. But the volume was pretty much the same, and the win rate was effectively the same as well. So, we'll see what can happen. We've talked about and given out a couple of futures angles and bets already. We talked about the SMU one. We have these Penn State Notre Dame ones. What else do we? You guys remember?
If you followed our picks, you made money. I get that's the best thing to say. And all can be verified on Pickett and BetStamp. I think that's really important as well. Like we do what we say we do over here. And if you've been following us at the beginning of the playoffs, we gave out Notre Dame and Penn State, so you didn't even have to get those preseason. I got those at the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, I think the championship game is the 20th, I believe. So after these games play, the championship game will just be right around the corner. So, I think we'll be back for one more, right? We'll turn around, we'll do the championship preview, and then break it down. Hopefully we'll have a model play. If not, whatever, we'll still break it down. So, all right, boys and girls, appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate the likes, appreciate the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. As always, we're here every week, and we'll be for the next week for college, but as Steve mentioned, we'll be going a lot further than that for NFL as well. So appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been real. We'll see you next week.
Take care.